Shove it, man!
Okay, it's shoving time, there's no need to rhyme. Before we start, I want to provide a quick Brood update. At the time of this video's release, the Hawk will have had a meeting to discuss the itinerary and plans for the boys' tour. It's been decided that he wants to come to the UK. I know that's disappointing for some of you US fans. Several wrestlers have told me that it's the better idea for him to go to the UK, not sure why that is, but whatever. So the Hawk's dreams are going to come true as I'm going to be meeting the boy in real life. I'm sure I won't be able to sleep with excitement for the next 8 weeks. I've decided to turn his tour into a bit of a documentary. Hopefully this will go some way to getting him signed by AEW. So for the last time, if we could all donate just $5, it should see us over the line and I won't need to talk about him ever again. Links in the description, we're only 500 short. Now on to today's video. This is one I've been delaying because I don't normally like to talk about wrestling footage which the bigger channels have already covered. But I think I can provide a bit more of an in-depth look at today's video. Plus, it was a Patreon request so I've got to do it really, haven't I? Today's video was a Patreon request by Caleb Robinson. If you want to make the Hawk squawk, sign up today. And word to the wise, I'm taking a short break from any footage owned by WWE. That doesn't mean your video won't be made, they're just hitting me hard with copyright right now. I'm letting it blow over. Figured I'd make today's video across 2 parts so we can really understand the product. If that's possible. Okay, World Wrestling Allstars. After this I'm going to go play in the road with the cars. Now what's interesting about this promotion is it bridged the gap between WCW and ECW being purchased by the WWE and TNA opening its doors. There are a lot of wrestling talents floating around in 2001 not signed by the WWE, so there was an opportunity for someone to capitalise. That someone would be Andrew McManus over in Australia. Unfortunately, the biggest WCW talents would not be available straight away as many were sitting at home on Time Warner contracts. Basically, they weren't being paid by WCW, so they just sat out their contracts happily getting paid. I don't blame them. So the scene is set for this new promotion to be something completely different and learn from the mistakes of WCW. Let's see what they come up with.
And no, at least for this first pay-per-view, Russo did not produce it, because I know someone in the comments section will ask.
So they ran lots of house shows on their tour, but they also did pay-per-views, and that's what we'll be watching today. Road Dogg was crowned the first WWA champion at a live event. The title was then vacated, giving the Road Dogg a 3-day reign. Not exactly a great start. The first pay-per-view is called The Inception, and it will all be about crowning the second ever champion. I don't think the Road Dogg's first reign is even mentioned on this pay-per-view. We start with Jeremy Borash, who was all over the show. We have to watch 4 friends singing an Australian national anthem to start the show. Have to say the production values look good so far. We start out with a small botch where Jeremy Borash announces that the next match is scheduled for 1 fall. Then he hesitates and Bret Hart makes his way out. Hart is introduced as the commissioner of Allstars. He says it's the first time he's been to Australia and he's loving it. Then he turns his attention to trashing WCW. Then he complains that he's stuck in Australia due to the World Trade Towers being bombed. It looks like a massive crowd, but it's actually only 8,500. Well, I guess that's decent for a first pay-per-view. He goes back to trashing the WWF and the WCW, which the crowd love to hear. He calls McMahon a piece of shit. He says the winner of the belt tonight will essentially be getting the torch passed to them by Bret Hart. We meet our commentary team for tonight. It's Borash and Jerry the King Lawler. This is when he left WWF due to his wife the Cat being fired. They announce that there'll be a tournament to crown the first World Wrestling Allstars champion. Why do all the graphics look like we're watching an old episode of WWF Metal? Borash announces that there will be a 4-girl bra and panties match tonight, and they display a graphic of Conan and the Road Dogg. Hope they aren't a part of that match. The first tournament match will be a ladder match, also for the Cruiserweight title. Juventud Guerrero, who has for some reason got some 90s pop music, and he cuts a promo in full Juice mode. He says finally the Juice has come back to Australia. He asks the fans to chant his name, but they barely do it. His opponent is Psychosis. These 2 guys don't like each other very much, and Psychosis definitely has the psychological edge in the early going. The commentary team is really annoying. It sounds like it's playing their commentary out loud in the arena. In fact, it is. The Juice fires back with a spinning heel kick and a DDT. The wrestlers go outside the ring now where the Juice pushes a ladder down on top of Psychosis. He balances the ladder on the ropes now and he shoves it into the ring where it hits Psychosis again. The Juice is really dominating as he causes the ladder to seesaw into his opponent's face. It's eventually turned around as the Juice is dropped on a ladder that's balanced in the corner. Psychosis climbs the ladder now and delivers a leg drop guillotine across the ropes. He thinks he's got the match won, but the Juventud drop kicks the ladder out from under him. The match trundles along quite nicely, but the crowd are absolutely dead. Then it all goes horribly wrong. The Juice tries to dive off the ladder, but his opponent just stands there watching him for what feels like an eternity. The Juice dives, but he doesn't dive far enough and he crashes to the mat. Then the ladder falls down and hits the referee. He no-sells it. I think Juventud got legitimately hurt here. This will play into it later. Lawler is pissing himself on commentary. He can't believe what he's working with here. The crowd warm back up to the match with Hooray hitting a sunset flip powerbomb from the ladder. The Juice finishes him off with a top rope 450. Hooventuk climbs the ladder and wins the match and advances in the tournament. This match should have been better. I think they were jet lagged. World Wrestling Allstars seem to also have their own Nitro girls, which they call the Starettes. It's just a chance for the King to make some of his hilarious sexist commentary. In the back, a limo pulls up and it's Rive McManus, not sure if he's related to the owner, a talk show host, and Nathan Jones. Lenny and Lodi are here, but they're not impressed. Gifted Glenn Gilberti's also floating around in the back. He's asking for security in suits. The next match is a dog collar match between Conan, who raps his entrance but I don't think his mic was on, and the Road Dogg. He gets a great ovation and he's not turned into the Mold Dog at this point. He looks just like he did in the Attitude Era. Conan jumps the dog before he can do his introduction. Conan gets the mic and steals his shtick. He calls himself the Mexican champion of the world. He also says that because the other members of DX are still employed by the WWF, they have 2 words for him: suck it. Conan starts out hanging the dog across the ropes as the ref tries to stop it. What's the point in the stipulation then if you're going to stop it? K-Dog hits a rolling clothesline as the ref puts the collar back on Conan. He tries to win but he can only touch 2 corners because the dog yanks the chain into him, nutsack first. Dog fights back now with punches wrapped in chains. They repeat the chain into the nutsack spot, this time Conan delivering it to the dog. The ref gets completely distracted by something. I think the dog collar came off Conan again. He starts smacking Road Dogg with a stick. Later on, the Road Dogg also uses the stick, with the ref being an idiot again. Then the Road Dogg wins by touching all 4 corners. The collar wasn't even around his neck as he touched the 4th corner. Jesse James advances in the tournament. Terrible match. We meet our ladies in the skin to win match now. The 3rd one looks nice, but when they show the 4th, it's a man. Lawler's very upset about this. Hardcore match now between Crowbar and Norman Smiley, who was also well received by the crowd. Crowbar starts out with a springboard crossbody before he gets overzealous and crashes out to the floor. Smiley starts using a trash can lid now. Crowbar fights back by cutting him across the ropes and then he hits a splash into the ring on a chair. He quickly follows it up with an acai moonsault on top of Smiley. No cover is made and we continue the match. Smiley is back up seconds later for a back body drop and then he falls over. Later, Storm tries a suicide dive but he's smashed with a Smiley chair shot. A table is set up at some point and then we get the big wiggle. Smiley tries a suplex through the table but it's blocked and Crowbar suplexes him into the ring. They're back on the outside seconds later. Crowbar dropkicks a trash can into Smiley. Crowbar continues winning and he splashes Smiley through the table on the outside. Norman screams but still no pin attempt. Smiley isn't selling anything in this one. He's up again using weapons. He puts a trash can over Crowbar's head and smacks at the chair. We get another big wiggle on the entrance ramp but it's interrupted by a kick to the slash zone. The fight spills backstage. This is one of the longest hardcore matches I've ever seen. Crowbar puts Smiley into a garbage can and tries to throw it into Disco Inferno, who's still chilling backstage. That was a waste of time. We're back at ringside now. Crowbar drops Smiley on a metal barrier. He then disappears for a while as he tries to find a table. It sounds like the crowd are chanting boring. I might be wrong. Crowbar now has 2 tables set up on top of each other. He decides to try a powerbomb on a trash can instead, but it's reversed and Smiley gives him a big wind-up slam on the trash can. It doesn't hurt the Crowbar and he smashes Smiley into the Titantron supports, nutsack first. Crowbar stacks him on the table and he climbs up the structure of a trash can. Then he just throws it down at Smiley. Crowbar splashes him through the 2 tables, at least it looked good. Smiley again no-sells it. He rolls over and drapes his arm over Crowbar to win the match. What? That doesn't even make sense. That is one of the most idiotic match endings I've ever seen. Crowbar's the one who splashed him through the table but he didn't win. Dumb, dumb, dumb. In the back, Disco is introduced to 2 bananas in pyjamas. Disco said he asked for 2 suits, not fruits. What on earth? It sounds like someone found this joke really funny but took it too far. It's announced that the tournament has now been ruined because the Juice has injured ribs. He won't be able to compete anymore, so they don't know who will take his place. Why not put the invincible Norman Smiley in his place? Stevie Ray interviews Bret Hart now, who says we'll get a battle royal next that's open to absolutely anyone. Stevie says he's going to whoop some ass and join the match. It's so difficult to know if it's a tournament match or not. What precedes as the worst battle royal I've ever seen? Buff Bagwell is the first guy out. Also in the match is Disco Inferno. Okay, so it's going to be like a Royal Rumble, I guess. I think, as Disco jumps Bagwell and the bell rings. Or not, because then Stevie Ray joins the match 20 seconds later. Smiley and Crowbar are also back. King announces on commentary that he's going to join the match. He also forces Jeremy Borash to join the match. Borash punches Stevie in the gut as the King holds him. Then Stevie eliminates JB. The referee Slick Johnson's also in the ring and also a production guy and a hooker. They must have been really low on wrestlers. Why have this match if you don't have enough people to have it? The best bit is Disco being tricked by the wrestlers. He's apparently a complete idiot because he keeps falling for their tricks. The Bananas are now back as Stevie Ray gets eliminated. King does the big wiggle to Smiley, but he gets kicked in the slash zone. Then they both get eliminated. The final two are Buff and Disco. Buff hits a double arm DDT. Disco retaliates with the Village People's elbow. The Bananas don't like it and they chuck him out of the ring. Bagwell then eliminates the two Bananas. It's over. A lot of people look pissed. The King says he wants to find out more about the two fruits and he runs off. In the back, McManus is with Nathan Jones. He says he's not afraid of Jeff Jarrett's stroke. He says to the interviewer that the only stroking tonight will be her in her hotel room. Out now, a wild Slapnuts appears.
Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
He's still being called the chosen one at every possible opportunity and has his classic Slapnuts attire on. Appropriately, this will be, it's a guitar and a pole match. Jarrett has the mic and says, "Listen up, Slapnuts." He says he'll be the first champion of WWE. I think he means the second. His opponent is the front row Nathan Jones. This match certainly has the potential to be terrible. Rove McManus has the mic and he tells Jeff Jarrett that he sounds like a pufter, which is a homophobic slur, although it may mean something different over in Oz. He says Jeff's about to get his nuts slapped all over the ring. This one's going on between Jones' time being released from his WWF developmental contract and coming back for his brief main show run. Jones starts out with a turtle wheel slam, which doesn't look so great. The commentary team say it's because Jeff is sweating. Jones boots him in the face. Slapnuts manages to fight off a chokeslam attempt, but then he gets a big side slam. The match spills out of the ring now, but it surprisingly doesn't go into the crowd. Jones presses Slappy back into the ring. He hits a top rope clothesline and he heads to get the guitar. Slapnuts stops him with a punch to the slash zone and Jones falls onto the ropes. Nutsack first. Slappy gets the guitar, but McManus gets into the ring to try and stop him. He gets smashed with the guitar. Jarrett hits the stroke to Jones and it's over. You would have thought that WWA would want to try and protect their only Australian talent, even if he is green. Jones carries McManus away on his shoulders and he celebrates as they leave. This is so similar to early TNA. We get an updated tournament bracket now, but we still don't know who's taking Hooventoot's place. Lawler's back again now. He says he wants to interview the Bananas. I don't get why they're spending so much time on this joke. Before it can go any further, the West Hollywood Blondes are here. I thought the Bananas were going to be revealed to be them, so that's my theory out the window. King doesn't know their names and says after hesitating, "It's Lenny and Loadout." King says that we now have 4 fruits in the ring. He also lets them know that the crowd are all calling them wankers. This goes on and on and on. Bret Hart makes his way out and wants the King to go back to the desk. It's decided that there'll be a 3-way dance to decide who takes Hooventoot's place. The Blondes versus Road Dogg. Bret gets the Blondes' names wrong again. Lenny and Lodi work together but they disagree on who will be winning the match. Out of nowhere the Blondes hit what almost looks like a 3D. They're still fighting over who's going to win. It's then decided that Lenny can make a pin, but the Dog kicks out. At least they say he does, it doesn't look like he does. Lodi starts smashing Road Dogg's face into Lenny's nutsack. That doesn't even make sense. More miscommunication now as Lenny dropkicks his own friend. The King says, "Take that, you pickle kisser." The Blondes are just breaking up pins. They finally come to blows and both get 2 counts on each other. Lenny hits a pretty nice moonsault on his friend. Seconds later it ends as the Road Dogg knee drops Lenny's head into Lodi's nutsack. Just absolutely terrible. There's no effort to be different. Everyone's just doing their WCW or WWF shtick. Stevie Ray interviews Buff Bagwell next. He tells Bagwell that he's trying to do his J.O.B.
I don't like looking like a fruit booty when I'm trying to do my J.O.B.
Bagwell announces he has a special stipulation for a Slapnuts matchup. Buff says it's puppies, whips and buff, whatever that means. And that exciting match is now. It's Jarrett versus Bagwell. In a match which is not relating to WCW at all. Trust me, it's just not. This is something completely new. You've got to trust me on this. It's not relating to WCW, don't even think about them. They're really trying to get this Slapnuts thing over too. Probably been about 2 years at this point. It turns out that this is a lumberjack match, but instead of wrestlers, it's girls with whips. Just need to remind you guys again, this show has nothing to do with Vince Russo. So I guess this is proof we can blame Jeff Jarrett and Terry Taylor for a lot of wacky stuff that happened in TNA. Jarrett gets whipped by the girls for a bit, but he doesn't like it. The girls don't want to whip Bagwell. It's a really boring match that goes longer than my attention span can possibly last. Bagwell and Jarrett both use whips on each other. Later on, Bagwell hits the blockbuster, but the ref is out. The girls make the count instead. Buff is an idiot and he thinks that counts for some reason. He thinks he's won. Just as a new ref comes out, Jarrett hits the stroke and it's over. No punches to the slash zone in this match, which surprised me. That's about as much as I can say. Luna Vachon is being interviewed now. She's annoyed for her husband, Gangrel, because he lost all of his matches in Australia, and she says she's had enough of him because of that. At least it doesn't feel like a WCW match up here. The generic blonde interviewer is a bit intimidated by Luna. So it's Gangrel who spits his blood out versus his wife Luna. This is apparently their wedding anniversary. It's a bad match because Gangrel doesn't want to hit his wife. She has no problem hitting him though. Luna starts throwing cake at Gangrel, so he slams her into a cake. Gangrel throws a tantrum because he can't bring himself to hurt Luna properly. Luna uses some tongs on Gangrel's nutsack. She has absolutely no problem smashing Gangrel with weapons. She throws her wedding ring at him and spits at him. This causes Gangrel to snap and he hits the big implant DDT for the 3. Another terrible match. I don't think I can do this anymore. This is shocking. I know I say a lot of stuff about shows and pay-per-views being bad, but this is honestly terrible. Stevie Ray is in the back now interviewing a woman who's dressed as a man. My money is that it's Miss TNA Bruce. Stevie says he doesn't know who it is though, so I'm thinking if it's Bruce, surely he'd know him. I'm thinking way too much about this, aren't I? Who cares who it is? So now it's the skin to win match. The first girl is called Queen Bee. She came second in some sort of Penthouse magazine thing. The second girl is Violet, but she hasn't been in a magazine. The third girl is Adara James. She seems like she has potential. The fourth person is out now. It's got to be Bruce, surely. I have no idea what the rules are for this one. The girls all tried to take the man down, but they can't do it. This match is embarrassingly bad. Pretty sure these girls aren't trained wrestlers anyway. Queen Bee tries a dive, but she's caught and backbreakered. Another girl drop kicks the man in drag. Adara James then hits a tornado DDT on the man as his wig comes off. I don't think it's Bruce actually, it looks more like Jimmy Rave. All the girls take turns booting him in the nutsack. The commentary team revealed this is someone called Danny Dominion, whoever the hell that is. He's not from Shepton Mallet, I know that much. He starts dominating the match. He hits a powerbomb and a double stunner to the 2 other girls. Okay, I think it is a stripping match as 2 girls get their tops taken off and now they're out. Not their bottoms though. Adara James is probably a wrestler to be fair as she fights back on her own and hits a head scissors from the corner. He pokes her in the eyelid to slow her down. He tries a powerbomb but she wriggles out of it and tries to roll him up but they botch it. She carries on fighting and fights off a back suplex to hit a Russian leg sweep. Now she hits another head scissors. Why is this match still going? It's longer than any Divas match at this point. Danny Dominion throws her down to the floor and Stevie Ray runs out to confront him. He smacks Danny, allowing James to hit a diving head scissors. She strips him and mercifully this one's over. Adara James spanks him. Big things expected for this lady. Nothing happens for a while now. It seems the commentary team is stalling. Someone brings out a message warning that Madeja and her man will be on the next World Wrestling Allstars show. They stall and they stall and they stall. The girls dance for a bit. Disco Inferno comes back out. He's certainly not one of the main eventers. He's here to cut a promo complaining that he was screwed in the Battle Royal and he should be in the match. He blames the Bananas for his loss. How is this storyline featured so much? Other than the tournament, it's the main thing on this show. The Banana Brothers come back out and they throw him into the cage. They all climb into the cage. Disco and one of them climb up the cage. It ends with Disco throwing the banana off the cage onto a pad. Disco has the mic and he sings "That's the Way I Like It, aha." He shoves the other banana and it ends after stalling for another 5 minutes. Still no main event though because Bret Hart is out. What is going on? Finally, Road Dogg comes out. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, he cuts another promo. Jeff Jarrett finally joins us and the match is on in a steel cage. It's been 17 minutes since the last match ended at this point, and after waiting for 17 minutes, our reward is one of the most boring cage matches of all time. This is apparently a pinfall only cage match. Why have a cage then? They leave the cage and fight around it. I guess they thought these two wouldn't have much mileage in a steel cage, and they would be right to think that. Weapons are used of course, and back in the ring they go. Slappy almost wins with his trademark sleep hold, but the dog won't go to sleep. He tries one of his own but he gets a back body drop. Slapnuts ends up bashing the dog over the head with a guitar and Slappy puts on the sharpshooter. Bret Hart takes offence to this move and he won't let the ring announcer ring the bell. This is despite them already establishing that this is a pinfall only match, so it doesn't make sense. Road Dogg wants the pump handle but instead we get a ref bump. Now Road Dogg puts on the sharpshooter. Bret doesn't look impressed again and he won't ring the bell, despite Jarrett tapping. It's pinfall only, you idiots, none of this makes sense. And just like that, this whole match is about Bret Hart. Bret takes the belt and leaves. Road Dogg is out the cage now and he snatches the belt away from Bret. He tries to hit Jarrett but instead he gets a stroke right into the belt. That's the 3. What a surprise, Jeff Jarrett is crowned the WWA champion. I really shouldn't be surprised at all, should I? Bret is skulking around the ring. I have no idea what his problem is. He's so miserable. I don't think Bret wants Jeff to have the belt. So Bret is now a heel and Jarrett's a face because of this. Jarrett bows down to Bret and he puts him in the sharpshooter. Jarrett is a bloody mess on the floor and the Dogg flips him off whilst he's dead on the floor. This is the worst pay-per-view I've ever seen, and as usual with everything I have to watch, the show goes off the air with the image of Jeff Jarrett and a belt. Just kill me. The WWE toured the UK for the next few months, but they didn't have a pay-per-view.
As you can see for this leaflet, Vince Russo was involved in later shows. Why they'd advertise him as the producer on this leaflet, I'll never know.
World Wrestling Allstars' second pay-per-view was called The Revolution. Unsurprisingly, it was plagued with massive problems. The Outsiders were scheduled to appear, but they signed with the WWE just before. Randy Savage was also scheduled to appear in the main event, but he no-showed. The production was terrible and the live crowd was way worse than the last show. Only 2,500 people turned up for the first show on US soil in Las Vegas. We've also lost Jerry Lawler from commentary and instead, it's Mark Madden. The opening contest feels very much like a TNA opener from the early days. It's a 6-man elimination match between Nova, Low-Ki, Shark Boy, Styles, Tony Mamaluke and Christopher Daniels. The camera doesn't show the individual wrestlers as they're introduced. It's like they don't matter. Styles and Mamaluke start out and trade Germans. Sharky's in now, he seems to be the only one that the crowd know. Shark bite to Mamaluke and he follows it with a net breaker. Low-Ki gets in and he kicks Sharky in the face. Daniels makes a blind tag and comes in with a springboard dropkick. Low-Ki calms him down with a rolling kick. The Warrior then tags out by slapping Nova. He knees Daniels in the face and then in a completely nonsensical move he hits a double suplex with the man who just slapped him. Later on we get a tower spot involving Shark Boy, Low-Ki and Mamaluke. The cameramen have absolutely no idea what's going on here. They ever even watch wrestling? Sharky hits a diving head scissors which looks like it almost spiked Mamaluke. The ref counts 3 but he says it's 2 and the crowd boo with anger. Sharky hits the DSD but he can't make a pin and Low-Ki blind tags him. Straight away the Warrior puts him away with a kick with gymnastics. Ki and Styles fight for a while now. The Warrior absolutely blasts Styles with a kick but somehow he kicks out the pin. The match carries on in this manner. It's actually pretty nice to be fair. Mamaluke almost puts Daniels away with a top rope backbreaker. Daniels fights back and he hits the Angel's wings. For some reason he doesn't pin and he tags Styles in. AJ hits the Styles clash and Mamaluke is now eliminated. Low-Ki back in now and he's hit with a spinning reverse electric chair drop and a top rope elbow, but surprisingly he kicks out. Low-Ki's still somehow in this one and he hits some sort of dive. The commentary team can't decide if he hits it or not. We get some more incredible dives to the outside of the ring.
Low-Ki is the next man to be eliminated with a diving Uranagi.
Daniels looks the favourite here, although Styles is still able to kick out of the BME. We get a sunset flip German suplex combination between the remaining 3 guys. Daniels is eliminated when he wants to hit a Frankensteiner on Styles which he reverses with a Styles clash. Surprise Nova is in the final 2 and he almost wins with a flatliner. I get even more surprised when Nova actually wins the bloody match with a Spanish fly. Really good opener and already better than anything that was on the last pay-per-view. Nova may have been someone TNA would be interested in but he was signed by the WWE not long after this show. Just want to point out how funny Mark Madden and Borash look sitting next to each other. Madden looks like he might eat him at any moment. The Hitman is out now, who's surprisingly still a part of this product. He's here to address the main event, as Randy Savage is not here to compete. Scott Steiner's apparently backstage and he's been talked about on commentary. I assumed it's going to be him. But completely out of the blue, the Hitman announced that Brian Christopher will be his replacement. Bear in mind, in 2002 fans would have only known him as one half of Too Cool and certainly not a main eventer. Bret Hart rants on and on and on, it's terrible. He starts threatening Osama Bin Laden and then it ends. In the back, Alan Funk, the Funkster, is lecturing Puppet and Tio, the midgets. Not these 3 guys again, it really is TNA, isn't it? Reno will take on the Funkster now. Can't believe this is a pay-per-view match. What kind of sick, demented person would want to see this match? The Funkster tries to hit an alley-oop, but it doesn't look great. The Funkster's really dominating. He hits a reverse body slam. The match is turned around as Reno hits a gut-wrench suplex. The Reno man continues the power game with an overhead suplex. Reno's absolutely destroying him with suplexes. To be fair, I thought this would be a joke match, but it's not actually bad. The Funkster starts funking up, but he misses his big boot and he gets a slap to the throat. Reno hits the roll of the dice, but he doesn't make a pin and he tries a dive which is blocked. The Funkster's funking up again, but the crowd chant Reno. The Funkster hits a big boot followed by a pile driver for some reason. Alan Funk wins it with a leg drop. A really cheap looking limo pulls up in the car park and outsteps several women and Scott Steiner. Disco Inferno is now out to complain that he won't be in the main event. Disco wanted to be in the main event, but he throws out an open challenge instead. No one fights him though and he moves on to the commentary team. We move on to our next match. It's a team called Native Blood with a Native America gimmick. Their opponents are Chronic, who get a pretty loud reaction from the fans. They fight for about a minute before the bell rings to start the match. The Native American is press slammed out of the ring onto his partner. Brian Clark almost wins with a full Nelson slam. He hits a choke slam. This is just a drawn out squash match really. The Native Blood team then almost somehow win with a double dropkick. It's still going. Brian Clark almost wins with the pump handle. Adams and Clark eventually do win with the high times. Yet again I'm wondering why they thought this belonged on pay-per-view. It wasn't bad, it was just pointless. In the back, the Psycho Dwarf is complaining that he hates midgets. The Starlets are back on this show, but they have more of a girl next door look to them and less like strippers. Now the little people are out for a match. The Psycho starts slamming his opponent onto the entrance ramp. The comedy is the absolute worst for this match, as Disco and Madden seem to have a bad effect on each other. Actually, it's pretty funny, but we aren't allowed to find things like this funny anymore in 2022. I heard the crowd laughing at Disco's comments too, so you can't hate on me alone.
These guys have actually been feuding for years, having these hardcore matches for years. When the feud started, they were both 6'2".
Kill the little bastard!
Come on, Mark, please.
Oh, yeah!
Right into the...
Yeah!
Jeremy, do you know what type of buy rate we could do if one of these midgets killed the other one right here live?
Please.
This game will be available on the Xbox in a few months. No, yes, go! Try to kill yourself! Oh no, he might die!
He's trying.
Do it!
Fly, midget, fly!
It's actually a decent hardcore match, but I'm finding it hard to focus on anything but the commentary. Puppet hits a power slam and a jackhammer, which is just a 2. I'm pretty sure this match is only happening so the commentary team can make midget jokes. Disco talks about putting Puppet in a trash can, which is evidence that this is where the midget wanking in the trash can came from. Madden says, I hope these two guys can still fit in their Teletubbies outfit after the match. Tio the midget misses a swanton bomb. Dude, I was watching World Wrestling Allstars pay-per-view the other day, man. And this dude, Tio the midget, he stole my swanton bomb finishing maneuver, man. But it didn't finish. Man, I'm going back to Carolina and I'm going to tell my stoner friend Shannon all about you, man. The match goes out the ring and thumbtacks are introduced to the match. Disco says that's a human being. I know it's a midget, but it's still a human, I think. Jesus Christ, Disco.
That's a human being. I know it's a midget, but it's still a human being, I think.
Puppet wins with a TKO into the thumbtacks. Now Scott Steiner's WCW music hits. Steiner beats up the midget, so I'm guessing he's still doing his roid rage gimmick. Steiner suplexes one and throws the other out the ring. These midgets were really treated like circus freaks here. I laughed at some of the jokes, but I felt bad about it because I felt sorry for them at the same time.
These guys are going to be awful battered, bruised, and swollen. I hope they can still fit into those Teletubbies outfits.
Midget action from the World Wrestling Allstars.
Wait a minute, were these guys Oompa Loompas in that Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory movie?
That's enough.
Scott Steiner has just won Olympic gold in the midget toss.
Scotty cuts one of his legendary promos. He says he took a lady to a bungalow on a mountaintop and she pissed on it until she called him the big bad booty daddy. Wait, what?
Up to my bungalow, and she took her up to the mountaintop and piss knocked until she called me the big bad booty daddy.
Steiner is annoyed that Bret Hart didn't put him in the main event. Well, yeah, I don't blame him. Steiner says he's not leaving before he kicks someone's ass. Steiner realises that Disco's still here and he throws him into the ring. Disco can't do anything to hurt him and Steiner has fun suplexing him all over the place. This isn't even a match, but it goes on for ages. Steiner puts on the recliner and it's done. What a waste of Big Papa Pump's time. They wasted money on Steiner and all these girls so he could beat up some midgets and Disco Inferno. Was this the WWA trying to be different by pushing a young guy instead of Steiner? Probably not, they probably just thought Steiner would be harder to control than Brian Christopher. The next match sounds like a real treat for the Cruiserweight title. Juventud versus Psychosis, who's now apparently the champion, versus Eddie Guerrero. This is during the brief time that he left the WWE and he got on the roids. The commentary team are shocked at his new size. It's certainly a fast-paced matchup. Psychosis hits the first sent onto the outside. He comes back to the ring with a beautiful top rope spin kick. Eddie's almost beaten multiple times. Then he starts controlling the match after hitting a Total World backbreaker. He loses focus and he's hit with a Juice top rope leg drop. The Juice and Eddie start fighting over who's going to pin Psychosis. Juventud asks Eddie what the fuck his problem is. It's a very even match, no one has a chance to breathe. Juventud seems to be the clear heel in this match as he hits the first shot to the slash zone of the night. This match is surprisingly not just designed to make Eddie look good, all three are even. Eddie's double suplex to the floor to get rid of him for a bit. They try and work together to completely remove Eddie from the match, but the two luchadors kick each other down. Later in the match, Psychosis hits a double leg drop with one leg on each opponent. Enjoyed that one. Psychosis hits a bad looking powerbomb on Eddie and then he tries to give him a Frankensteiner, but Guerrero holds the ropes. He hits the frog splash for the 3. Eddie is the new Cruiserweight champion. He has a promo after the match where he gets really upset because they keep playing his music over him. Eddie addresses his personal issues. He says his life has been a mess, but from now on he's going to start making a statement in wrestling. Randomly, Jerry Lynn walks out to make fun of Eddie. He uses some eye drops and starts fake crying. This is not a Jerry Lynn that I'm used to seeing. Eddie tells him to stop raining on his parade. Lynn runs down the many promotions that Eddie has worked for and claims he only had success because of his surname. Lynn tells Eddie to quit his bitching biatch. Eddie smacks him and says he's not finished with the wrestling world. Eddie gives him a shoulder breaker. He also suplexes Lynn on the floor. They try to come back into the ring where Lynn gives him a leg drop across the ropes. Jerry hits a package pile driver to end the segment and says he'll be back for his title. This would never lead anywhere because Eddie would sign with the WWE and the belt would be vacated. Crowbar is also on this show, still wrestling as Devon Storm. He faces Sabu with Bill Alfonso. This one's actually good. Sabu hits a springboard ass to the face and then uses leg strength to pull Storm out the ring. Can't tell if this next bit is a botch. Devon Storm tries to suplex Sabu into the ring from the steps, but he can't manage it and he falls down. Sabu is used to a botch or two himself and he tries to move on quickly with a dive. He hits another nice springboard for a 2 count. This is a match I never knew I needed in my life. For some reason it just works. Fonzie sets a table up, then it all goes wrong. Devon tries a sunset flip powerbomb out the ring, but his feet go through the table and Sabu doesn't. Sabu again tries to move on quickly with a leg drop. I don't think there will be any more botches anyway. Sabu manages his chair assisted moonsault, so he should be okay now. Storm hits the biggest power move of the match with a Death Valley driver on a chair. Storm scoops up a chair along with Sabu and slams them both. He rolls into the ring with a leg drop for a 2. Devon Storm continues to win with a big splash to the outside of the ring. Back in the ring, Sabu fights off 2 powerbomb attempts and he suplexes Storm across 2 chairs. Sabu tries to go high risk now, but he gets a chair to the face. The crazy spots continue in this match now, with Sabu trying to springboard dive to the outside, but Storm dodges and Sabu crumbles through a table. I had no idea how Sabu's still in this one. He's bleeding, he's crashed through a table, and now he's given a top rope splash. I thought it was only going one way at this point. I guess I've seen too many Jeff Jarrett matches. Devon Storm wins after Alfonso accidentally nails his own man with a chair and Sabu is rolled up. Never expected these two to have such a good match. To be fair, Storm idolises Terry Funk, so they always had a chance to get along, but it's still not a matchup on paper that sounds interesting. Sabu was a dick after the match. He throws a chair at Storm whilst his back's turned. They put Storm through a table with an Arabian facebuster off the Titantron, and then they move on as quickly as possible. In the back, it's Lenny and Lodi again with more gay innuendo. I think he's sewing up his shorts, but who cares? The Blondes' music plays for 2 minutes and the commentary team start getting restless. Mark Madden shouts over the PA system, where are they? I hope they weren't going to come out, but they do. The Blondes take on Rick Steiner and Ernest the Cat Miller. The Cat wins with a kick in about 1 minute. Lodi didn't even get into the match. I can't see him too bothered. The most unhyped main event of all time is up next. I honestly forgot this thing was even happening. It's like they tried to sweep it under the rug. It's Brian Christopher versus good old Slapnuts for the belt. Lawler cuts a wacky promo saying Jeff Jarrett doesn't suck, he swallows. Lawler's really enjoying this match. He dances so much that his pants fall down. Lawler almost wins with a middle rope dropkick. We get crowd brawling because every Jeff Jarrett match must have crowd brawling. They come back to the ring with Lawler almost winning as he turns over a pin attempt from a crossbody. Slappy puts on the sleeper hold of doom, but he can't knock Lawler out. Later on, Lawler almost wins it with a tornado DDT, but Slappy gets his foot on the ropes. Lawler keeps going and he hits a sunset flip powerbomb to the outside. I just want this to end now. Then there's a ref bump. Oh yeah, here we go. Lawler nails the hip hop drop, but of course the ref is out. Then a new ref comes out and the two refs start arguing with each other. Jarrett hits Lawler with a guitar. It's not over, the two refs are still fighting. Jarrett has enough and he throws one ref out the ring for a ref bump. Lawler tries to hit a pile driver, but Jeff hits him in the slash zone. He hits the stroke, it's over. Oh god, we got all 4 of Jeff Jarrett's special attacks in 20 seconds. What a way to go off the air. Look, it was much better than the last pay-per-view, but that's not saying much. It's like saying the crap I took last night was better than the one I took this morning. Anyway, let me know if you want me to finish up this mini-series or not, because there are several more pay-per-views to watch. And if you don't, well, I don't exactly blame you. It wasn't exactly good, was it?